Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Black Male Podcast. I'm your host, AP. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for watching wherever you're watching, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the YouTube page, the Black Male Podcast. I appreciate you. I appreciate every one of you taking your time to tune in, to watch live, or to watch the show on YouTube. If this is your first time watching, please like and subscribe. Please tell someone. And we cover some things that are out there in the world. We also discover some terms that we are using and also some things that we may not know personally, you know. So that's the reason why we do what we do, okay? But today's show, which is show 20. Show 20 is going to be on emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is something that has floated around for a few years. It's also floated around in the span of knowing and accepting some things in certain realms, so should I say. When you work in behavioral health and also when you work in medical fields or even when you work in schools or in any other type of place where you're working directly with people, emotional intelligence comes into play more often than people want to realize. It comes into play when things that we do. It comes into play the things that we react to, but also how we carry ourselves. It's always important for us to see ourselves in the best light. It's always also important for us to carry ourselves in that light as well. Even when things are not going well, even when we have some things that go against us, we have not to necessarily say we have to take the higher road, but we have to take the road less traveled, should I say. The road less traveled means that I'm not going to go ahead and use my emotions to determine the words that I'm going to respond to you and it's going to feel like I'm being either subjected to certain things that's going to allow you to cast a negative light on me. That in terms denigrates my character. That also talks about, what type of person I am initially. Sometimes we get looped into certain situations, whether it be something that we caused or something that someone else caused, and we just happen to be in that space at that time. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're bad people. It doesn't mean that we have bad intentions. Bad people do great things. Sometimes good people do bad things as well. It's part of the humanistic element that we have. To quote Janelle Monáe, one of my favorite artists, life is a play with no rehearsal. We're going to go through life and we're going to experience some things, whether they be good or bad. And it's going to challenge us in some aspects of how we respond to those things. It's always best to respond to things rather than react to them. If we're not in tune with our emotions or how we see certain things in the light in which they're cast, then we're going to react to those things. Now, in your early stages of development, until you're 10 years old, you're gonna be taught certain things. That's the time that psychologists feel that in our humanistic behavior realm, that we're going to learn certain things, certain key things that's going to carry us in our adolescent stage to a young adult stage and to our middle age all the way to our older age. But those things can be adapted and adjusted to based on the environment that we're in. Some people are, I wouldn't say victims, they're conditioned to the environment that they're in. And sometimes it's hard for them to break through or break away from the things that they've learned. They become accustomed to living and doing and saying certain things that will allow them to feel like they are entitled to be or to think or even to do certain things that they are without even really taking a real look at their emotions or how they feel about certain things. Certain things like things that happen at work, things that happen at home. It could be a loss of a loved one, a loss of a friend. It could be, certain relationships that we're in. Those things all play a part of our emotions. And we want to think about the intelligence part about it. It's just how I react to the things that are happening. Now, initially we're going to react to them because Either we haven't been through enough experiences to get us to a place where we can fully understand where we are. Sometimes we get into those boats and those situations where we can either talk ourselves through, we can think ourselves out of, or we can navigate and have a plan so that we can go through those things effectively. And those times that we're unable to do that, it may be a situation where either we haven't experienced those things or the lessons that we've learned are just preparing us to be in that particular space. And those lessons that we've learned to be in that space may also give us the chance or the opportunity for greater things. If I'm on this plane right now, this level plane that I am right now, on this level of personal or professional, and I feel like I'm in a great space, it doesn't mean that I don't have anywhere to go from there. Just like when you water a plant or you water a tree or anything that you water, you give life to, you give energy to, it will manifest, it will grow. Those things that manifest and grow could be positive or negative. You know, some folks live for toxic relationships. Some folks live for things that are great. Some folks, they crave certain things that they don't have. And that's all a part of how you emotionally respond to certain things. A lot of people respond to breakups. A lot of people respond to divorce. A lot of people respond to elation or when you graduate or promotion in different ways. But some key element is missed. How you feel. Emotions are something that you're born with. That's something you outright own. You own your emotions. No one has the right to tell you how to feel about something. No one has the right to tell you how you should feel about something that happens to you. Now, sometimes when we're listening to people or someone will listen to you, they will in turn give you some things that they would do or how they will respond to certain situations. Sometimes it's beneficial and helpful and sometimes it's not, because sometimes it depends on the avenue of the person or the intent that they have behind the message that they're giving you. And sometimes that leads us to a level of play in a place that we are not really prepared to be in. So we're going to cover today what it is to be emotionally intelligent, but mainly how to be in control and manage our emotions. As I just stated, emotions are something that we outright own. It's much different than buying a house, buying a car, buying things that we're paying on. We pay on those things, right? We can't pay on our emotions. We're born with those. And like I said, no one has the right to tell us how to feel or how to respond to things. Now, being emotionally intelligent for us is how we communicate that to someone. I have the right to tell you how I feel. You also have the right to either accept or not accept how I feel in a particular situation, whether you brought that situation to me, we both are in that situation together, or it is something that I'm doing singularly. Now, that's very important for us to get to and for us to understand. But before we understand those things, we must first be in tune with ourselves. And part of being in tune with ourselves is knowing what it actually means to be emotionally intelligent. Okay? So just like anything, when we start, I'm going to give you the definition of what it is to be emotionally intelligent. Okay? So the definition goes as so. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Again, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Now, some folks are going to look at that last thing that I said, diffuse conflict, and think that conflict is a bad thing. Conflict is a great thing to have because without conflict, I can't grow. Without that, I don't have a starting ground for something of how I feel and how I should garner myself within a certain construct. With me knowing and understanding how I feel about something, it's going to tell a lot about me. It's going to tell a lot about where I am, but it's also going to tell a lot about how I feel about myself. If I have a great grasp of the person that I am, or a grasp of how I feel or something makes me feel, that in turn will affect some of the decisions that I make later on. And with those decisions that I make later on could be a make or break for me. It could be professionally or it could be personally. But either way, if I'm in tune with those things, it would help me in that realm of knowing and understanding where I am. But that's why it's important to be emotionally intelligent and to know where I am. Case in point, if I'm in a situation and I know that this situation is not the best for me, we'll take a random one. We'll do a work one because that's pretty easy, right? A work situation that's not necessarily a great one. It's good, but it's not great in our aspect, right? From the other standpoint, it could be, oh, you're doing great. You're in this great spot. You're doing excellent work. You're doing all those things. But I'm going to make you feel as if you're going to be in a situation where you always have to answer for something, because if you make one slight misstep or if something doesn't go the way that it should, that you're not doing what you should do. And some people have that where they are not having an understanding of that and knowing what's going on to know where they are. Now, see, some people have those things where it's difficult for them to get to and for them to have a great space of being in an emotionally intelligent spot. Now, I'm in a position where I can say I've learned a lot. I've learned a tremendous amount of things. I've learned some things that were beneficial to me. I've also learned some things that were not beneficial to me. But when all of that, I've learned either how to accept things or how to navigate differently around people or how to respond accordingly to how I feel about certain things. Now, energy is a major factor in that because it's not necessarily the energy that I'm giving, but it's what I'm internally receiving from an outside source. And that outside source will either fuel or it will take away from what it is that I'm doing. Now, if I allow those things to overcome me by overthinking those things, then that thing controls me. Now, I'm in control of my emotions because I outright own those things. And no one has that type of control or a hold over me for that. So I've been in those situations myself. You yourself may be currently in that situation, or there may be a situation that you've had in the past that's been that way. But it's something that you control or how you responded to that. And those who are effective in responding in a positive manner, which means that I didn't act out, I didn't say the first thing that came to mind, but I also garnered and I got my point across in the most effective, appropriate, respectful way, where even if someone were to take what I said in a negative light, I was able to effectively communicate my point. That's very important because if I can effectively communicate my point, that in turn tells you how keyed in and how in tune I'm in with myself. If I'm in tune with myself and I'm keyed into some things within myself, it's going to be very difficult for any outside force to hinder that. And with them trying to hinder them or it trying to hinder me, it will take over my thoughts and my emotions. So my thought and my emotions run hand in hand. Sometimes as I think, as I am, right? That's an old saying that's out there. So as a man thinketh, he is, right? So if I think that I'm a king, I am a king because I'm going to garner my emotions, my thoughts, my movement, everything centered around that thing. And that thing I'm going to hold near and dear to me, which I'm going to hold my emotions to me. I'm going to hold the things that I feel are very important, like being a high standing person, having great character, being there for other people, showing the effort that I need to show for those that I care for. Even if as you're not necessarily someone that I quote unquote care for, you're going to feel the energy from me because I'm emotionally in tune to know that I have the power to control that thing, right? So that's where we're going to start, okay? There are about 3 C's that make up emotional intelligence, right? Okay? It's consciousness, compassion, and the connections you create, okay? For your consciousness part, I have to be in tune with myself. Okay, I just spoke about that, but let's go into depth with that. Being conscious about something means I'm thinking, I'm always heady about what my surroundings are. I'm in tune with some things that are making me feel and be in a certain place. I'm also in tune with my surroundings and how I feel internally. I know certain things about myself that only I can tell. Some of those things are going to be self-preservation things because some people are not allowed to know those things because I have to be comfortable in certain spaces that I am in so that I can go forth and live the life that I choose to live. And no one has the right to tell me what it is or how I should live, even though that goes against what their thought process is. So everyone has their own ability to do that. Everyone has their own ability to be able to consciously feel and be in a space where they feel that they have the right and control of their emotions to freely speak, but to feel the way they feel and to get those things out. Some people don't like to share their emotions. Some folks say, "Oh, I'm an emotional person. I'm an emotional thing." There was a thing a long time ago that said women are emotional creatures. Well, men are too. Men just don't tell about it because in a man's DNA, a man is a hunter gatherer. A man really doesn't have time to express his emotions. Now we're in a day and age where sharing your emotions is very important because if I don't tell you how I feel, if I don't tell you what I'm thinking, then there's no possible way for you to understand why I do certain things that I do, how I feel the way I feel about certain things, and why I'm responding to things the way that I am. It's going to be important for the other person that I'm communicating that to, for them to know that, and for them to respect that. Now, they have the right whether to accept it or not, but I have the right to be able to get that out. So that's what it means to be conscious about that. I have an ability to know where I am and how it affects me. Okay? The compassion part. The compassion is knowing and understanding who it affects. It affects certain folks that's within my immediate circle. It can also affect those who are outside my immediate circle. Okay? Now, we all live in a bubble that exists in a box. Okay? The bubble's where I'm comfortable. The box is our life. Okay? Now, within that circle that exists in that box, I need to have the compassion to know that if someone is going to share something with me and they take the time to share something with me or how they feel about something, I need to be open and honest and accept what they're saying, even though I may not like it, even though it may be something against me personally. I still have to give them the opportunity to speak freely, to say the things that they would like to say and to get those things out. Because it's very important. If I do not allow them to do that, I cannot be in charge of my emotions because my response is, "Oh, well, you should have said that to me. Oh, I didn't like the way you said that. Well, you didn't have to say that to me." See, sometimes when we communicate with people and people say that, they're not really in tune with themselves because they really don't want to take what you said as something as credit. And when I say as credit, it's something that's built upon an understanding of how you feel. It's part of a deposit. It's part of also putting something in and pouring into something that's supposed to grow. So I have to have the compassion to know and understand where people are, and people have to know and understand where I am to know that that is very important for me to be in a space where I can effectively communicate what I need to and know and understand. Sometimes people go through things, right? We all go through things. And sometimes it's your season, sometimes it's mine. And it all depends on how we've learned to deal with those things in the most appropriate, compassionate way is if we're open to listen and understand where someone is. It doesn't take much to know and understand where someone is and show a little empathy for how they feel or show a little class and character for where they are. The important thing is for us to be in that space to, even though they say those things and it makes us feel a certain way, to truthfully understand that it was hard and it may be very difficult for them to tell us what they're telling us, but to appreciate the opportunity to be in that space, to know and understand where they are and why they said what they said to me. I could be causing them great grief. I could be causing them elation. But somehow, some way, they feel the need to say what they need to me. It's not personal. And a lot of times we take things personal because we've grown up in a space where we couldn't understand that. We didn't have the capacity to know and understand that certain things that people say are going to affect us in that way. If someone will say, I'm a great communicator, I listen, I talk, part of communicating is listening. And that's a big thing where people don't listen. Sometimes people don't listen to themselves. And when they don't listen to themselves, they lose and they miss out on a key element of something. You could be talking so much and you miss the key, especially when you're talking to someone. Sometimes someone just need the opportunity to get out what's been bottled in. And I don't know how long you've been holding on to this, but to be in that space and know and understand that they're just trying to get out how they feel is important. And the outside of that and the reaction to that is how you accept that. So that's going to tell me whether I can continue to share things with you or not. That's also going to tell me if I can give you or divulge some personal things about myself to you, how you hold those things. That's that compassionate part of being about that. I have to be understanding of the space that you're in. And if I'm not understanding in the space that you're in, there's no way that I can be intelligent enough to know that your emotions matter to you, or even be understanding to my emotions of how I'm going to react to that, right? It's also important, very important. So let's jump on that last C, the last C of the 3 C's, right? Your connection. Your connection is going to be important in that. What type of relationship you have with the person that's telling you what they're telling you is very important. Are you going to give someone the same amount of energy and understanding as someone that you don't know? You're not. Are you going to do that with someone that you're trying to know? Well, it depends on that type of relationship and what that relationship is founded on. Sometimes people have a relationship that's founded on lies. Some people have a foundation of fear. Some people have a foundation on misunderstanding. Some people have a foundation on, I'll just let it be what it's going to be and I'll see where this goes. Now, when those people have those type of foundations and those connections, it's going to be very difficult for me to share certain things with you. In case of point, if you're in a situation where you want to tell someone something, but you don't fully outright trust them with the information you're going to give them, and they say, well, why don't you speak enough to me? It's because I don't feel that you're there. I don't feel that you're really in tune with how I'm feeling, or even in tune with yourself to know if I were to trust you enough to give you a tidbit of something or how I'm feeling, that's going to be very important for you to understand. I need you to understand where it is I'm coming from. The art of communication is lost. And that art of communication of knowing and understanding where we are in regards to our emotions is key. I have to be able to tell you that I didn't like what you said. I don't like how you made me feel. That thing you did over there the other day wasn't cool. I wasn't okay with that. But you also have to give me the opportunity to tell you why. So if I just say something to you, but I don't give you the why behind it, of course you're not going to understand. But how many times do we get in a situation when we're telling someone something and they are quick to respond as opposed to taking in what we're saying truthfully and wholeheartedly? And that's only because of the type of connection we have with them. If I'm in a situation, I'll give you a great example. I have a situation where someone will always respond in a negative way, no matter what I say. I can give them a compliment and they'll look at the worst thing that I said. They'll take out the negative part of what I said. In that, I can give them a ultimate compliment, a compliment that I've never given them before. And you know what they will hang themselves on? The negative part of what I said. Because their emotions is telling them I'm going to go right back at it because I'm not ready to take what you said. I don't even care what you said. Because if I care enough about the person you are, then I would care about the emotions that you have. See, those connections are very important. When we have those connections that we have with people that we work with, sometimes we have a work family. No matter where you work, you're going to have a work family. And sometimes that family is a lot stronger than the family you have that you're born into, or the family that shares your same last name, or the family that have the same bloodline as you, because you're always with them. You're going to have peaks and valleys with some of those folks. And sometimes people take those things for granted because you've given them a little bit about you, or in the midst of knowing and understanding and getting to know you, you may have given them a little tidbit and they've run with the most negative parts of that and they've turned it on you. How many people have been in that situation? I'll raise my hand. How many people have been that person to do that? I'll probably raise my hand too, because maybe I made someone feel that way and I don't know it. Maybe in my early stages of my life, I probably did that to someone. Maybe they never had the opportunity to tell me that. And if they were willing to tell me that now, I'll be willing to listen. See, when we get to a certain point of our progression of our lives, we're willing to accept certain things that we necessarily weren't able to accept from knowing and understanding of how people respond and how people react to the way we either do things, the way we say things, or the way we push things out there for them to get and for them to grasp. It's important for us to get to that point, for us to have that connection, so that we know we mean something to that person. And we would know we mean something to that person, or we don't mean much to that person based on how they respond to that. That connection part is important. Consciousness, compassion, and connections are very vital to knowing your emotions, but also garnering them. I'm in control of that. You can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me how to feel. I have a coworker that talked to me one time. She told me that she was dating someone and now that person is dating someone else. Now she was really hurt about it. And I could tell she was hurt about it. It's not so much as what she was saying, it's the words that she chose to use. The word she chose to use is, how come nobody told me about that? Well, why did they try to keep it a secret? My response was, maybe they felt like it wasn't your business. Maybe they felt like they just wanted to keep it to themselves. Her response was, but that's not right. They got me looking a fool in front of everyone. I said, sometimes you have to understand what people are to know that they probably didn't mean you any good in the first place. Case in point, the person that you were with probably didn't have the same amount of respect and admiration that you had for them. Part of that connection part of knowing that may affect you. Part of that compassion, but knowing that I may affect you in a way, especially if you know I'm dealing with this chick over here and I was dealing with you and now we work in the same circles, that's going to affect you. Being conscious about my emotions and how you feel about it. It's not so much as about what I feel. It's also about the way you feel as well with what I do. She's still not over it. She's not going to get over it. And you know why? Because every time she goes to work, it's a daily reminder of something. So imagine the way that she feels every time she gets herself ready to go to work with every intention. We don't know what she does to get herself mentally prepared to go to work. Now, they don't work in the same departments anymore, but sometimes she works in a department and sometimes she sees them. Sometimes it's a stoic reminder of what she had. But to him, it was nothing, just, oh, we were just kicking it. We were just hanging out. To her, she feels like they had a lot more. But she never had that opportunity to tell them, or excuse me, him, exactly how she feels about that situation. Extremely hurt. You can hear the hurt and the pain in her voice every time she speaks about it. And you can tell every time she goes into that department how she looks at it. And that's a hard thing for someone to live with and deal with, right? That's a hard thing. How many of us have been in that situation? Not necessarily at work, but how many times have we gone to somewhere that we've been somewhere with someone and it brings back either a negative or some sort of emotion that pops back in? If you go to an amusement park, or I went this place with this person, or I went to this place when I was a kid, and it makes me feel certain things. Or I remember going on a date with this person, this place, I can never go back to this place. Or this person I was dealing with used to love to go eat this place, I can't stand this place now. Those things affect us because we're human. It's part of our human nature. It's a part of the things that we go through. But sometimes we don't give ourselves enough time to deal with those emotions appropriately to effectively carry ourselves to the next phase. Some of us are our own worst enemy when it comes to that point. Some of us do not allow ourselves the clemency or the time to really fully divulge or to get out the things that we need to get out. Because somewhere along the line, when we're climbing that ladder and we're running, we're chugging and everything, we hit a snag. We hit a roadblock. Something affects us. And then we're back to square one. And then when we get back to that square one, we sulk. We get back to a place we don't like, that's uncomfortable. It makes it very hard for us to be the person that we want to be. You're human. You are human. That is the way we are designed. All of us have that in our DNA. There's no walking human alive that says you don't get emotional. No way. No one can say I have complete, total control of my emotions. No way. Not a fact. Anyone that says that they do is lying to themselves. Part about being emotionally intelligent is not some fancy term that someone says that it says it's X, Y, and Z. It's black and white. There's no gray area that exists. We all live in a gray area. We all drive cars. Those of us who have licenses, right? And you get in a car. They tell you, as soon as you get in a car, what? Buckle your seatbelt, right? How many people buckle their seatbelt every time they get in a car, even if they're going right down the street? How many people do? It's discipline. How many people do that? But in essence, when you get in a car with them and you hear that buzzer go off and it gets on your nerves and you say, are you going to put your seatbelt on? Right? Or please put your seatbelt on. Or they'll put the seatbelt on behind them and snap it and then don't protect them. How many people do that? If that's you, you probably need to put your seatbelt on and practice that. You also may want to also practice having some sort of care about yourself, because emotionally, do you really care what happens to you? Are you being rogue and being something that you are causing yourself to be in a space to exist that's just going to spew out toxic energy towards someone? Is it going to make someone feel like you are the person that I need to be around, or you could be beneficial to anything that I want? We have those relationships that we have with people, and they are indicative of some of the things that we do. But sometimes the people that are around us, sometimes they don't understand that. Sometimes we can be in a lengthy, long relationship that we think is the best, but it could be killing us on the inside. Because if I can't tell you how I feel about something without fear or threat that you're going to respond to me in an appropriate manner, that's bad. That's not good. That's a toxic relationship. That doesn't mean you're ever conscious about anything. That means you care about yourself. You couldn't possibly care about me at all. Where's your compassion in that? Where's the connection that we have? Because every relationship you have with someone is going to have some sort of connection. Some sort. It's going to be important. I have to be self-aware about my emotions. I have to be in tune with myself. I have to know where I'm going. But I have to understand where I am at this point in time to be honest with myself. See, excuse me. A lot of people are not honest with themselves when it comes to their emotions. They will make excuses for people and the things that people say. People will also make excuses for the things that people do and hide how they feel. I shouldn't have to hide how I feel. If I chose to have you in my life, I have the right to say what I want. You also have the right to say what you want, but please communicate that in an effective manner. Because at any given time, what could happen? It's a gamble. I may say something that you may not like, or you may say something I may not like. But I have to have the opportunity and the ability to say that. But that's knowing where I am, but also you knowing where you are. And that's something that we need to garner when we're having these conversations with people. Some of us are just so hip to say, oh, that's just so-and-so, or I could talk to them. Or when you tell someone something, they say, oh, I'm not going to take it that way. You're not going to take it that way every time somebody says something to you. Or they'll say, well, that don't bother me. Well, what does bother you? If you tell me something don't bother you, what type of person are you? So you just tell me that you go through life aimlessly and nothing affects you? You have no emotion or anything like that? That's a dangerous person. That person has probably no motives for any sort of security for you. That means they don't care about what they say or what they do or how you feel. I'm going to do what I want to do. It don't matter who feels what. Because I'm going to have mine up here. Because somewhere along the line, I've learned that. Somewhere along the line, something has taught me that I have the ability to spew that out to everyone. And it's your job to accept that. That's a false narrative. That's not true. I have the right to accept it. I don't have the right to listen to it. But when I don't listen to it, I need you to respect the words that I'm going to say. And it goes like this. I understand what you're saying. I understand that it makes you feel that way. I don't like what you said that make me feel this way. So I'm going to tell you what needs to happen from here. I need my time to have a response. And in that time I need to have that response. I need you to respect that. And in that time, when I'm taking my time to do that, I don't need you coming back and forth with me saying certain things to me. See, that's something that I know about myself. But I had to get to that point to know that about myself. Because a younger me would quickly say the first thing that comes to my mind, whether it hurts you or whatever. Because I'm going to tell you what you said and how it made me feel. And I don't care how it made you feel. I don't care I don't care. But as you get older, you start to understand more about yourself. You start to understand more about people. You start to understand what connections you have with them and why it's important to be true and honest with them. if I can't tell you my intentions with you, no matter what they are, that leaves you to guess. If you can't tell me what those are, and when I respond to you and you don't accept those things, that says something about you. That maybe you're just not really honest about something, okay? Please don't allow the attachment to me that you have dim anything or any light that you were attracted to or that you're trying to take from. That's being important. That's also being in tune to some other things. But knowing where I am in this day and age, in this space, you can sure bet on yourself that knowing is more than not knowing. I need to know how it is that you make me feel. I also want to let you know how I feel about you. I'm going to be honest with it, whether you can accept it or not. But I'm going to allow you the opportunity whether to accept it or not. You have to give me the opportunity to whether to accept it or not. If I don't have an appropriate connection with someone or I have no connection with that person, it's not going to mean anything if I don't. Because I can care less of how they feel. And it's just that person. But who's to say they might turn back around on me and come back and smack me in the face with a brick and I don't get it? What if I never gave someone the opportunity to come back and tell me how they truthfully felt about something? That's my fault. What if they never just came around to tell me how they felt about something, given the opportunity, even though they know that there are certain changes that that person has made? Because sometimes we can go back to the connection that we had with someone and the responses that we had with them and the conversation that we may have had with them, and it prevents us from moving forward and saying how we truthfully feel about them as a person. And it stops us from doing or getting any progress or getting anywhere. Sometimes we have to put things to bed. And what I mean by that is sometimes we have to have closure in certain things. But being emotional to those things is I have to know. I have to know where I am. I also have to know how I feel about that. That's your emotional intelligence. It's the 3 C's. It's me knowing where I am, but it's also knowing and accepting where someone else is as well. Throughout your life, you're going to have times when it's going to be a make or break. You're also going to have times when it's not going to work the best for you. Okay? The lessons that you've learned are going to carry you through. What's also going to carry you through is how you're going to respond to certain things and how those certain things are going to carry you through. Okay? So I've been reading a book. I like to read books. Okay? I was given this book, right, last year by an old supervisor of mine, right? So, you know, sometimes supervisors, they want to do team building and all this other stuff, and they come up with these ideas, and, you know, they want to promote some, you know, camaraderie with everyone, right? Which, you know, I took a look at this book, and I was like, okay, there's some good stuff in here. Sometimes business books don't translate to life because it's a business aspect of what they're trying to get to, right? It's not a humanistic thing, right? Because in a business world, everything is treated as a machine. It's not you. There's no personal influence or no personal connection with that. Okay, so I'm going to show you the book that I've been reading. Okay, all right. It says it's a Wall Street Journal bestseller. Over 2 million copies sold. So that means a lot of people done read this, right? But how many people have also understood the message from it? Okay, this is the book. Okay. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. All right. So there's a part in it I'm going to read to you right now. Okay. This book was written by Dr. Travis Bradberry and Dr. Gene Greaves. Okay. They're co-founders of Talent Smart EQ. Sometimes when you're talking about emotional intelligence, if you were to Google it, they call it an EQ. Right. Some people say EI, some people say EQ. I'm going to just say being in tune with your emotions because it's the same thing. Okay. So, this comes from the chapter titled The Big Picture. right? And then this is this paragraph, all right? And it says, considering the range of emotions people express, it's no wonder they can get the better of us. We have so many words to describe the feelings that surface in life. Yet all emotions are derivations of 5 core feelings: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and shame. As you move through your daily routine, whether you're working, spending time with family or friends, eating, exercising, relaxing, or even sleeping, you are subject to a constant stream of emotions. It is so easy to forget that we have emotional reactions to almost everything that happens in our lives, whether we notice them or not. The complexity of these emotions is revealed in their varying forms of intensity. I'm going to tell you something. When I read this part, it really punched me in my face. And I'm going to tell you why. This halfway down where they really hit on something. I'm going to reread that, okay? We have in so many words to describe the feelings that surface in life, yet all emotions are derivations of 5 core feelings: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and shame. As you move through your daily routine, whether you're working, spending time with family or friends, eating, exercising, relaxing, or even sleeping, you are subject to a constant stream of emotions. It is so easy to forget that we have emotional reactions to almost everything that happens in our lives, whether we notice them or not. There's your energy. There's me giving off something whether I know it or not. The complexity of these emotions is revealed in their varying forms of intensity. Again, from the book that's titled Emotional Intelligence 2.0, written by Dr. Travis Bradberry and Dr. Gene Greaves, co-founders of Talent Smart EQ, that have written a book. And then if you do a Google search or you do some investigations or you do some searches of emotional intelligence, there's plenty of books that's out there. People have their own varying takes of it. But what all it comes down to is me knowing and understand my emotions and where I am and how certain things affect me. And when I'm in that certain spot and I feel certain things, how I either react to them or respond to them. I'm going to leave you with this last little tidbit. We're going to run through some things that we experience. We're also going to be in a certain realm at certain points of our lives. It's either going to make or break us as people. It's going to make or break us personally. It's going to make or break us professionally. One thing that we always have to be in tune with is how we feel about those things and how we effectively communicate those feelings and emotions to others. Sometimes we just need to give our chance the opportunity to take a step back and look at the situation as opposed to the first time we hear something to react to it rather than to really divulge the information and go from there. Because the person that's giving us the information may be giving us something that we may not want to hear, but it may be a lesson for us to learn. And sometimes the toughest lessons are the ones that we refuse to learn, or the ones that we refuse to adhere to. And when we refuse to adhere to those, there's no possible way we can have any sort of positive outcome from that. The point is for us to get to that place in our own space where we're always in tune with how we feel, but the ability to be in control of those emotions when we think them and how we feel them and when we feel them, to get those out in the most effective, positive manner that will not dim any light that we're trying to show. That's going to be our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you saw it live, I appreciate you. If you did not see this show live and you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate that as well. You can see me coming back next week with the new topic, new show next Sunday It will be in the afternoon. I'll set the time. If you follow me on Instagram, I appreciate you. The Instagram show, the handle is the blackmale_podcast. Please like and subscribe this show. You can also leave comments under the show on YouTube that will upload later. And as always, be good to yourself and be good to others. Peace.